Welcome, dear viewers, to a new episode of Dialogue Horizon. In this episode, of course, we'll continue on the political upheaval issue and instability, which is prevailing for quite a long time, more than 10 months in the country. But we would like to start by the important issue, which is the devastating and the disaster of the floods, torrent, and rains in the country. It did a lot of damage so far. Still, we have almost 1 month, at least 1 month ahead of expected rains and floods and torrents. So this will dedicate most of the episode on this issue, and then we move at the end of the issue to the political events and the expected outcome of the initiatives and the brokers who are trying to work hard, UNITAMs and the embassies, the Troika, IGAD. Anyhow, we'll talk to this. So that's why we are happy to host in this episode our guest, our friend, Associate Professor Sammani Hanoun. Sammani Hanoun also, apart from being fully involved as an activist in the revolution since the start, and he is right in the middle of this arena, this turbulence of the arena, but also he has the background, the economic background, which is the most important, because in our issue of the rains, we will touch the economic effects. Welcome, Professor Sammani Hanoun, to this episode, this important episode.
Thanks, Engineer Abu Haras, and I'm happy to join Dialogue Horizons, and I'm happy also to be a guest and extend my special greeting to the viewers of the Dialogue Horizon around the world. And I am happy to share a discussion about hot issues in Sudan, especially shaped by the abnormal flood in Sudan and the damaging consequences of this flood in most productive area, especially in a Jazeera scheme and other area scattered around the country. I am happy to be.
Okay, so we are also glad to host you, because I'm sure that you will cover as much as we can, because you are knowledgeable and you know what is happening. Almost, Professor Sammani, in August, this is start in Sudan, the start of the real start of the rainy season, and it's always accompanied by floods, because in the upper Ethiopian area, highlands, where rains are heavy at this time, so Blue Nile is full, White Nile full, so floods. Plus, these rains also from high areas, they create what is called the torrent, which is very devastating and very, because it is stronger than the floods. It comes all of a sudden like a blow. So tell us about this rainy season this time, and so far the figures they showed that almost 100,000 acres of areas like Jazeera, what you just mentioned, and it is known that Jazeera is an area of agriculture for the basic food. Apart from when it was a cash crop area, cotton, but now it is the area of feeding people, agriculture area. Plus other areas also are affected. This is one thing. The other issue, also the mining, the gold in general. This is definitely causing big shock to the economy, to the already bad economy. So what can you tell us about the effect of the rain and the torrent and floods on Sudan? What's the size of the damage?
Thanks for these strategic questions about the flood. Sudan is a land of flood. Since early 1940 and up to date, Sudan experienced wide range of flood. Every year we expect the flood during rainy season, and especially during August, when the rains come from the highland of Ethiopia, supported by heavy rain in Sudan. And that used to make a repeated tragedy. During every fall season or autumn, we expect to have abnormal flood. And especially during this year, the flood, especially in Jazeera area, which represent the heating heart for agricultural production, and one of its strategic reserves of food in Sudan, deeply affected by the flood and accompanied by some natural disasters like moving the the uh, the mineral or toxic material used in production of gold, especially. Needless to repeat, Sudan is the second largest country of gold in the world, and the processing of gold involves some toxic material used like cyanide and other material used in productions of gold. So the heavy rain resulted in moving these toxic material to the river, and that will result in natural disasters that will harm the drinking waters of the Sudanese people around the river, and also will harm the productions of the cash crops like Jazeera. And flood resulted in wide range of economic and social damage to the structures of the people, of local people. And the local people and the villagers in that part of country suffer from these natural disasters. Heavy rains this year especially resulted in package of negative impact, economic impact, not environmental impact, and other social impact. So the flood during this special is magnifying the tragedy of the country, which is for many months back without government. So now Sudanese people, especially in the area, Jazeera area, and other part in Darfur, in North Sudan, and in East Sudan, in Al-Gash, all people, they suffer from the flood of rivers and waters, and that also accompanied by the mining materials used in productions of gold. So that will result, I expect, to make huge damages to the environment and to the human as well.
Okay.
Yes.
That is very good, very elaborate discussion. But also this takes me directly to the estimate and the warning of the FAO, Food Organization.
Yeah.
FAO,
Yeah.
they're expecting
About
18
millions.
million Sudanese will suffer from
The,
famine,
hunger, yeah,
from
famine.
hunger and famine.
Yeah.
Do you think that this figure, first of all, this figure is it exaggerated or is it realistic? Number one. Number two, do you think that what happened this year, the floods and the torrents and the rains and the damage which occurred to many people may displace people from their places?
Yeah.
They can just leave it and they stop producing or growing. Will this affect in future? Will it have a very big effect?
Definitely, we cannot ignore the negative impact of floods. As I explained, environmental negative impact, economic, social, and also economic. These are different economic impact. But I don't agree with the number estimated by FAO that 18 millions will be subject or will face
famine or hunger. Almost 50%.
No, that
almost
is,
50% of the population.
Sudan is a very rich country with a huge and diverse resources. So especially during this time, it is difficult to have this number. This number, I think, is too high. But we have a food gap. There is food gap, can be supported by friends from outside, and also they can fill the gap. But a famine in the way expressed that about 18 millions of people will suffer in the famine that happened during 1985 or before 1975. That I think wouldn't happen in Sudan because of package of reasons. So there is food gap. We need to support and to fill this gap in food. But I don't think that will take the form of famine, like what happens during 1985. Most of Sudanese people were died from lack of food. That will not be repeated again. But there is food gap, and we need the world to support Sudan in order to fill this gap. The damages and consequences of the flood, Like any other natural disasters, they need to unite the efforts of the international community, the unite of the effort of friends around Sudan. They need the local people and the national leaders. They have to unite in order to face this natural disaster.
So you think the figure is
It
exaggerated?
exaggerated to
But in
some
most cases,
extent.
sometimes you think that do you believe in the credibility of the international institutions? I myself, I believe in because they put figures at first, people they think that's exaggerated. Like for example, for COVID, when
Yeah.
they said COVID in Sudan, when
Yeah.
there were only 2, 3, 4, 5 cases,
Yeah.
when they said it will reach by September at that time,
Yeah.
to reach 20,000 people, they said it's exaggerated.
Yeah.
Actually, it did reach that figure,
Yes.
but in the same date is specified. So you still do you think there will be a gap, not famine?
Yeah, because simply for the last 10 years we don't have government. In Sudan we experience lack of statistics. From where did FAO get the figures? This is my question. What's the source of information they have? From where they get 18?
They have a big
exactly.
office here. They have a
Yeah.
very established office.
They have researchers.
Food
and
program. They have the food program, United Nations food program. They have.
Yeah, I do appreciate the researchers available in FAO, but I think that this is approximately about 40% of people are subject to the famine, which is not true, because now if we study the economic groups of sectors in Sudan, you will find about 6 million of Sudanese are working in the gold sector. And to what extent, you know, this is income generating activity. About, let us say, about 10 millions are expatriates working outside. Also, they have access to the foreign currencies. About 2, 3 million, these are the wealthy peoples inside the country. So you cannot tell about 50% of the people are subject to the famine. This is, I assume, it is not accurate and cannot reflect exactly the food gap. Food gap may be for 10 millions, plus the refugees, plus other groups in the society. Yes, I do accept this estimate, but to increase or to make exaggeration to the number to 18 from the Sudanese people, I don't think this will be realistic.
Anyhow, what we see in the streets these days is something gives a lot of hope. Streets are full of agricultural products and full of horticultural products and fruits, vegetables, and prices are going down. Maybe because of the not inflation, but because of the scarcity of the money itself. Money is becoming very dear.
Yeah, prices are falling now in different sectors.
You are an economist.
Falling because of deteriorating purchasing power of Sudanese people.
Purchasing power.
Needless to repeat that since the 4 years of the December Revolution, Sudan suffered from instability, political instability, and economic mismanagement for the national economy. Now we reach the point of lacking lacking of purchasing power for the Sudanese citizens in Sudan. So because of the deteriorating purchasing power of Sudanese people, the prices tend to fall in the economy. The land, the car sectors, most of the main sectors in the economy, the gold, different sectors in the economy experience continued drop in prices.
What affected the purchasing power to drop?
Because of increasing recession in the economy. The demand for goods and services in market reduced dramatically because people, they didn't have income. This is why pricing are falling down, because of the lack of income. This is when problems are facing the Sudanese consumer. The demand for goods and services suffer from continuous deterioration. People used to cut their expenses according to their level of income. And that happens in the low demand for goods and services in the economy. This is actually what reflected in prices today. Prices are falling in the car markets, car auctions market, in the gold market, in real estates, in different parts of the country. Everywhere prices are going down because of they are moving to the recession. So this is a new trend in the economy.
This is a new cycle, very dreadful cycle. But also, Professor Samani, there is something to be discussed. Really, it bears discussing. I had figures between the price. But for example, let us say a watermelon. The price in Khartoum is, let us say, about 3,000, 4,000. If you the same watermelon, if you go to Sinnar, hundreds of
You find
kilometers.
only one.
It is only one.
Yeah.
So government did not do enough to improve the infrastructure so that they could connect people. So this may be the second issue of people. They should fight hard to have strong infrastructure.
Yeah,
Railways,
I think this is true because of high cost of transport.
high cost, very
This
high.
is one reason why people failed to transport mango from Abu Beha to Khartoum and the watermiller from Nuhu to the for Khartoum. You will find substantial differences from prices in production area and the consumption area. This is why, because of the transportation cost, abnormal and exorbitant. You see, during the last few years, the government increases the cost of electricity by 500%. So increasing by this very abnormal and very exorbitant increases in the prices that resulted in this very biased positions. Prices in capital double times the prices in production area. And if you take example in fruit sectors and in different sectors, you can easily discover that transport cost is the vital concern behind increasing prices in the urban centers or in the capital. So I think one of the main reasons behind the price differential between peripheries or the production area and the consumption center, the cost of the transport is abnormal and increasing. And this is one of the vital reasons behind this position, and especially during the fruit seasons. We need to make infrastructure in order to facilitate shipment of these products to the local market and to the regional and international market. So we don't have the infrastructure in order to facilitate the transport and shipment of goods from the production area to the consumption area.
So that's what was one of my questions. Now we answered part of it.
Yeah.
After this devastating floods and after this disasters and natural disasters which might occur, there should be some program for the government. Any government should do something about this.
Definitely.
There's something recurring, coming almost every year or every interval, not necessarily every year, but some years they come abnormal floods and abnormal water. So one of the things you are suggesting that the coming government or any regime should first look into infrastructure, improve the transportation so that people and areas, rich areas of the country, especially in food, are connected, well connected. This is one thing, because if we have rain, for example, heavy rain in the east, it will not be the same in the west, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So, the one which did not receive that rain, with the improved and strong infrastructure, they can bridge the gap of any area. This is one of what other.
Let us think about the solution. What is the solution in order not to repeat the same mistake?
Yes.
As we used to repeat.
Yes, yes.
So in order to expect different result, I think one way we have to make topographic survey for the land to see the high land, the low land that's subject to the flood, and to make very important national decision about these villages to move to the high land in order to avoid the repeated flood in the area. So government should handle a survey in order to know that area subject to the continuous flood. So the government should make a program to resign the peoples who are in the low land that is subject to the flood every year. They have to move to the higher land in order to have a protection from the repeated flood every year.
Yes.
This is, I think, it is important today, because now we can know the area of the flood, and we can make a map, and we can mapping the flood in order to know exactly area subject to the flood. And we can develop proactive strategy by moving people from this area affected by flood to the highlands in order to avoid flood. This is regarding the flood. This is, I think, only practical decision that government can take today. The other decision about the connections of the productions area and the consumption area is important. In the strategy, if you flash back the history of Sudan, during the colonial period, you can easily discover that colonial power designed the railways and the airport in order to collect the production area with the consumption center. Now I think we can do the same in order to avoid the price differences and also to back producers in the production area.
Yes.
So we have to make sounding infrastructure that links the production area with the consumption center market. And also we can extend this to the outside through seaport.
Yes.
Also make arrangement necessary in order to export our fruit to the outside world. You need less to resist organic food. And this is food facing very strong demand in the international market. So we have to build the infrastructure that support our export to the international market.
So you are doing what you mentioned now, the infrastructure to connect
Yes.
the production area to consumers area and to the international
To
market.
export market, yeah.
This is one thing.
Yeah.
The other thing you said, they have to make
topographic
survey.
during region,
the government
rainy
should
season.
move people from the areas
Affected
annually
with flood,
by
yeah.
flood.
Yeah.
So what else do you suggest the government can do about the water? Water is very dear.
Yeah,
as you know, in the world, in the globe,
Yeah, well, we have to make a water harvesting program. We have to stand dams, make dams everywhere in Sudan. We have to encourage dams in order
Small
to save
dams,
water.
small
Dams, village dams, in order to create sedentaries, peoples living around village and the nomads. We have to create dams everywhere in Sudan in order also to slow the flood of flood. Yeah, that will also make use in order to support our economy, to make sedentary areas, to increase productions of fruits, to make a package of advantage. So through dams and through water harvesting program, we can also reduce the impact of the floods in this area.
Yes, I agree with you, bearing in mind that there is a saying that here in Sudan, everyone knows a torrent is the flow of water.
Yeah.
Maybe for the viewers who don't know, that the torrent, the flow of water,
Yeah.
due to rain from highland, the torrent, they say, never changes its path.
It's road.
Never.
Pass, yeah.
It's path. The same is good.
Yeah.
So that enhances your argument
Yeah.
of building
Dams,
small dams, model dams,
village dams. Yeah.
village dams, so
Yeah.
that they can collect
Yeah.
water for use
Yes.
at later stage and
reduce burdens of flood.
effect. This is also good.
Yeah,
So
this
these
is
are
one
very-
solutions.
So
These are affordable to the government and at access to the government. They can do it. So according to their financial abilities, according
They
to
have
the
to-
resources,
they
they
have
have
to
the
do it.
resource to do these affordable solutions, to make the topographic surveys in order at least to know the affected area.
This is solely, entirely the role of the government.
Yeah.
Because investors, foreign
cannot
or
involve.
never will be interested.
This is the government.
This is government.
So why we urge the government? We need government. Now we don't have government.
But you have the same thing with what you said about the infrastructure.
Yeah.
This will help.
These
will help
investors, Rob.
investors, yes.
Yeah.
If they do, if they make the, like for example, some people, just to have, I have a very good example in Khartoum North. Khartoum North industrial area, it used to be the roads, it was used to be in very bad condition.
Yeah.
One of the Sudanese investor, Sama Dawood,
Yeah.
Dawood, he bought, now he has a colony
Yeah.
of all products
Yes.
of dal there.
Yeah.
But what he did,
Yes.
he made a ring around this campus, very long ring of very well paved
Yes.
roads.
Yeah.
Now people are using these roads and it's making life easy
Yeah.
to enter the industrial area of Khartoum
Yeah.
as part of the social responsibility.
Yeah, we encourage the investors in order to develop the infrastructure. They have to share building roads and
Yes.
paving the roads in order to serve their interest and their community interest also. So Sama Dawood did well when he built, paved all the roads around his plant and make it accessible to the
Very good.
users.
Now it's very helpful. It's very helpful.
Yeah.
It's
So that
well-
is good examples for
Others should
investors.
follow suit. Other Sudanese.
Part of the social responsibility
Yeah,
programs.
they should follow suit, yes, because
Yeah.
this is just an example.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the investors can come,
Yeah.
foreign investors,
Yes.
or even local investors, in improving the infrastructure and investing in the areas.
Yeah, this is, I think, the planners and the government planners, they have to make this proposal to the newcomer of investment, new intake of investment. They have to explain to them, you can give you the project, but you are required to do the following social responsibility programs: the roads, the schools, the hospitals. These are social goods consumed by all Sudanese people. So I think the government planners can inform the new investors with the required projects as accompanying programs to the whole package of investment. So
package.
that will also accelerate the development in different areas of the country.
Okay. Now let's move to an area which you just touched, the gold mining.
Yeah.
The native and the company and the government, anyhow,
Yes.
it has, like any other, let us call it industry, the mining, it had its side effects.
Yeah.
You mentioned that one of it
Yeah.
is that the purification process, the chemical use, the cyanide, these things are definitely affecting the environment
Yeah.
and the ecology of each area where gold.
Yeah.
Also, the production of gold, they estimate annual production about
100 ton, 100.
anyhow, per day they estimate about 300 kilos about so. Now there are figures saying that due to the rain, the heavy rains in the gold area in the north, the mining process and the purification is stopped, and it reduced the daily production to about 20 to 30 kilos of gold. This also needs to be corrected by the government because gold is becoming one of the resources of the country.
Main source of national income.
So can you elaborate about this, about the gold, its side effects, and what can we do about it?
Yeah, I think we are talking about the cost of flood or rain on mining sector in Sudan. So if we were put the questions in this form, that we can answer the questions by package of impact, because one impact, the rainy season makes substantial drop in gold productions in Sudan and reduce the total quantity exported to the outside, because the processors and the miners everywhere, they were stopped mining during to the heavy rain, during to the flood, during the package of reason. So total productions of gold drop, and the national revenues of government will drop. This is actually what happened today in the economic and financial tightness in banking sector, in Ministry of Finance. They were failed to pay even the salaries. So now the drop of the gold, because gold was the only source of national income during the last few months. The rainy season resulted in serious drop in the production of gold in Sudan. And one more environment impact, that the toxic material used like cyanide and other toxic materials, they move to the rivers, and that also will result in the damaging consequences to the people who are using this river for animals also. So some environmental impact due to the heavy rain in Sudan that resulted in serious drop in gold production, and especially most of mining area were stopped totally because of heavy rain. And also they move these toxic materials to the river, and that also will result in damaging consequence on man and animal as well. So the heavy season, besides also reduction of cash crop productions in a Jazeera area. So the heavy rain, this is over rain that resulted in negative positions. We need only normal rain in order to maintain a stable position to continue mining and agriculture and to avoid flood in the area subject to the flood. So abnormal rain resulted on this negative impact on Sudan. We need to manage this negative impact in order to reduce the impact and the profound impact of these environmental disasters on Sudanese people. Management by government by friends, by international community is a must in order to control the negative environmental impacts on Sudan because of heavy rain these seasons. And this is, I think, one of the evident examples of the climatic change, that heavy abnormal rain happens in Sudan and resulted on these negative consequences on different aspects of life.
Don't you think that, yes, having said that, the mining, the processing of the gold, it had the side effect of polluting or affecting the environment and the health of the people. So don't you think that the government should intervene? I mean, control or do something about regulating the native mining. This is, or trying to encourage people to resort to go to big companies so that they can use techniques and technology far better than what we are reading here. Our native technology is not taking care or not giving weight to the environmental detrimental effect of the gold processing.
Yeah, the government should take action in order to regulate these sectors, and especially I think the government should regulate the traditional mining by the native peoples.
Yeah.
So these sectors can, for instance, they can establish some societies, mining societies. This is one way in order to make grouping for producers of gold. And also they encourage modern mining by the large companies in order to make environment protections and to be under control of the government. So by encouraging people to create their own societies and groups, mining groups and societies, and supporting the modern mining by large companies, world companies, that will control the negative or environmental impact of mining on the waters, on humankind, on animals, on wildlife, on different aspects of environment. So I think this is one way in order to rationalize the productions of gold in Sudan by controlling the traditional sector and by encouraging the modern mining through companies, through the large companies.
Using technology,
use modern technology of extractions of gold and explorations of gold, so that will reduce the negative impact, definitely. And needless to repeat that gold, one of the most important source of revenue for government. Now we have to spend some effort in order to regulate these sectors beside the agricultural production, beside petroleums productions and other sectors in Sudan, and industry sectors that also can be supported by government in order to enhance public revenues. Which
yes,
is,
I cannot agree more. Yes, it's true. Because I remember that the governments actually, since the colonization, they were directly right in the middle, involved in the production of the agriculture, like Jadira, like Nuba Mountain, wherever, like in the east. The government, they intervene by research centers. They have research centers. They have. So you are saying that the same thing should be done on the gold, because now gold is one of the major.
Yes, engineer. Let me just to explain one focal point. Although we have huge resources that can represent source of income of the government, but we used to use the uni model, what we call uni model. We rely only on one source of income. Before, the collapse regime rely on petroleum and increasing the oil. When they failed, now the current government 100% rely on gold and ignore other sectors. This is very humble strategy. Why we don't make all things go parallel?
Yes.
We have to invest in agriculture to increase agricultural production. We have to increase mining industry. We have to increase service. Where is service sector? The fast growing sector in the economy. This is faster than industry, faster than agricultural. The service, tourism. Where is tourism?
No.
Where is investment in education or the health or service? Service is fastest growing sectors in the economy, faster than agriculture or faster than industry. So if you want to make development as fast as possible for eager people like Sudan now, people are suffering from underdevelopment, the only way we have to catch the path of service. Where is service? Again, I repeat my question. Where is service sector? We need only one example for tourism or for education or health. This is fast growing sector in the economy. And in development theory, we rely on service, not on industry or agriculture. The most fast track and for development and to realize development within very short course of time, maybe only 1 year, the service sector. So the only one tourism reason you can inject bulk of dollars to the national treasury. Only one season of tourism. You can get millions of dollars to the public treasury. So we strongly encourage people to move to the service sector also, beside these other stuff. The source of income is a humble strategy used by that very collapsed system of oil and gas.
Yeah.
They heavily rely on oil.
On oil, and when with 2020 the economy went down.
Yes, and this is diverse country with a huge resources. We can make universal strategy that all sectors in the economy, whether in agriculture or industry or service, they should go parallel. This is the only way to accelerate development. Yeah.
That's very good. It's very interesting that people, yes, we have to change the strategies. We have to have a
like octopus all together.
All together, yes. And we have the potential.
We have the potential.
We have the potential for that.
Yeah.
Because we have the resources wherever talk about, name it, anything.
Yeah.
Agriculture, water, gold, mining, copper, everything we have.
Yes.
We have it. We have the land. We have the water.
Yes.
Okay. Now, having said water, let us end this part of the episode of the water and its effect, and let us end it by the decision of the Ethiopians to make the sad feeling of the
dam.
The dam. I think it reached now about less than 20 billion, which is less than 1/3 of the definitely, and they started generating power. And as we all know that the Ethiopians, the Egyptians are afraid. They are always talking about their quota, and the Ethiopians, they say that they will never touch the quotas of Sudan or Egypt because the water is flowing. We are not consuming the water. In agriculture, we are just consuming it, regulating it by the dam. They are claiming this. And now, last week, the Ethiopians, they said they expressed their willingness to sit again with Egypt and Sudan to discuss this matter of the gate. So what do you think politically or economically, because we are, of the importance of the gate to Sudan and the importance of reaching an agreement between the three countries, so that now, because as we are talking now, the war erupted in Ethiopia again, in the Tigray area, the border, near the border of Sudan. So can you tell us about this gear?
I think the Renaissance Dam in Ethiopia, one of debatable issue among the three countries, Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. From my own judgment, that the positions of the Renaissance Dam in southern Sudan or the southeast Sudan is similar to the High Dam to the Egypt. Because simply, why Egypt accept to have the High Dam in the south of Egypt, like the Renaissance Dam for Sudan, also in the south of Sudan. So they do the same job. They regulate the flow of water to the north.
The north,
Under this position, I think, as stated many times by Ethiopian, they are going to generate power, not use this for production.
Hydropower.
So I think there is no something that make it sensitive in order to make, except that the water will be regulated throughout Sudan. Because the positions of the dam, similar to the High Dam for Egypt, is located in south of country and will regulate water to the north.
This will regulate the water to Sudan.
To the Sudan. And Sudan will be able to cultivate many seasons. And that will increase the share of Sudan in water, River Nile water. So I think this is the only direct reason why the Egyptians worry about to use the ideal capacity of water in Sudan. That will affect the water flow to the Egypt. But I think from the economic point of view, there is no any justification to reject the project, because simply the project targeting electricity, not to use agriculture or to use for agricultural production. So under this position, I think for my own judgment, the Sudan will benefit from regulating water throughout the year,
Sure.
will increase productions around the River Nile in Sudan. And that will increase the use of water by Sudanese people if we also develop the village dams.
Benefiting by power, buying power.
By
By
power
the way,
also.
we are already buying power from
Ethiopia.
before the grid
Yeah.
from other sources, because Ethiopia
Yeah.
has many dams, not only this one.
Yeah.
But already Sudan is borrowing, is buying
Yes.
about, I don't think, 100 megawatt.
Yes, about 250, I think. Last time they paid about 250
So
kilowatt.
when the Renaissance dam is finished, when
Yes.
it reduces 6,000,
Yes,
you can get
more
2,000.
power. Yeah. So I think Sudan, by all means, will benefit from this dam. Simply because the same positions of high dam to the Egypt.
To the Egypt, the
This
same
is
thing.
located to the
Exactly.
south. Yeah.
This is a
So
very
why
good-
are crying?
Very good similarities.
Yes.
But some Chinese people are being carried away
Yeah.
with the Egyptian notion that the GERD is harmful to Sudan and Egypt, and
Yeah.
some people, some of them are.
Yeah. So I think one point, also part of the answer, that why Abu Ahmed called for negotiation with Sudan of Egypt. Abu Ahmed in a powerful position. This is why he called for negotiation. He already performed the objective of the dam, and now generating about 5,150 watts of electricity. Now in a position to talk with other people. This is why, yes.
Okay, because we are afraid to run short of time, but still we have time.
Yeah.
So we have now we move
Yes.
from water, the effect of the water, the useful water, the GERD, the devastation of the floods and rains and torrents.
Up and down.
Up and down. Now we go to the people in Sudan here these days.
Yes.
People are suffering.
Yeah.
Many people, especially those who are in the payroll
Yes.
of the government, their salaries can hardly make them make ends meet.
Basic needs.
Basic needs. The salaries are very poor,
Poor,
and they cannot survive.
Yeah.
And people are calling for increase. And even I read last week the employees in the electricity sector,
Yeah.
they are threatening to go for a strike, which
For strike.
will put the blackout on the whole country. Zero generation. In its steps until it comes to zero generation.
Yeah.
It's what I read in the newspaper.
Yes.
So not only the the people in the electricity, all people in the government sector are suffering.
Yes.
And the summarize this project of the United Nations, the bank of stopped.
Yeah.
Nothing is coming to, but people are really suffering. What is the solution? What can government do?
Yeah, I mentioned several times, but many times, that the way government deals with salaries is not the ideal way. I mentioned several times, instead of increasing salaries, we have to target the value of national currency. We have to work hard in order to appreciate the value of the Sudanese pound against other dollars. This vicious circle will never end up, will continue. You increase salaries, the prices in market will increase, and again you increase salaries and to be absorbed by market, and so forth. That vicious circles will continue. This is an endless story. How to stop this endless story? You have a vicious circle, you have to move to the value of national currency. So the government should design a program that target the national currency. The central bank and the Ministry of Finance, they have to develop sounding monetary and fiscal policy. In that monetary and fiscal policy, they have to target to appreciate the value of the national currency, not to increase salary. Never to increase salary. Stop increasing any salary. The right way, you have to deal with the value of the national currency. Increase reserves of gold in central bank. One way in order to appreciate the national currency.
Yes.
You are the second largest country in Africa of gold. Why you are suffering from deteriorating value of the national currency? The way you can increase reserves of gold in central bank. So you increase the value of the national currency. And I propose two things. Number one, we need to change the currency, the national currency, in order to retract all money to the banking sector.
Yes.
And number two, we have to link our national currency to the gold by 25%. These two decisions, macroeconomic decisions, they can make profound change in Sudan economy. They can change the life of the poor people. We are talking about the poverty.
Yeah.
Who made the poverty? These policies of government policies. Still, the government policies, they harm the poor people in country. They stop investment by the restrictions of government. So we have to relax all restrictions. We have to remove all barriers to the trade and investment. We have to give freedom to the investors. We have to regulate the sectors in order to give chance for employment. And we have to link our national currency to the gold by given percentage. Let us say 20% of the currency covered by gold. This will recover the credibility of national currency in international markets. So I think unless we take this very aggressive decision, and we call it Falcon decision, we wouldn't be able to solve the problems, and especially the poverty. Poverty magnified dramatically today.
Yes.
Most of the Sudanese people, they fail to access even one meal a day. They fail. So we have to work. And so this is why we call the international community to play a greater role. The peoples are facing practical challenge because of the policies. Policies harm these people. Only policies. If we remove it, we have the resources. So we have to make rational policies in order to support these poor people.
Okay.
Yes.
This is very good. This is very good. And this takes us directly to the what's happening, the turmoil.
Yeah.
Almost could be my last question, which is the turmoil now. So many initiatives, many people, they talk about nomination of prime ministers, and still the picture is gloomy and sad. And maybe you are right in the middle of this, as I mentioned in the early in the program, that you are in the middle of this turmoil, and you can tell us better than other one what is happening to this initiative, and also tell us about the credentials, the presentation of credentials of the American full ambassador after 25 years of absence. American ambassador in Sudan for 25 years was absent. Now we have a full American ambassador in the country who presented his credentials to the chairman of the Sovereign Council yesterday. So tell us about the political upheaval and the effect of full representation of the United States of America in Sudan.
Yes, I think this is central questions, and I think one of the most important that we have to think about how to overlap and how to relax the political congestions in Sudan. In several interviews, I expressed, let us borrow from the example of Suar al-Dahab. Professor Al-Jazuli, Allah, is still alive. Why we don't, if we fail up to agree upon Hamdok, why we don't hire Al-Jazuli to do the same, like what happened during Suar al-Dahab example. Suar al-Dahab is a successful example for only 1 year, and then we move to the election. I think we have many successful stories here in Sudan. We can learn from them. The bulk of the initiative sometimes contradict themselves, and they end up with zero-sum results. So we have to unite the initiative in one platform. The Sovereign Council should create body that study the initiative and make consolidative initiative based on the different initiative to be supported by all people. The Sheikh Al-Tayyib al-Jid initiative as one of the initiative during the last few weeks need to be considered, because there are some peoples of different social group, they supported the initiative. So we have to respect the will of the Sudanese people. Even they supported by the supporters of the collapse system.
The collapse
We have
system.
to respect the will of the nation.
And there are other initiatives.
Yeah,
also.
there is other initiative from the FFC Council
They
and
should,
other
they should
initiatives.
integrate these all
We
together.
have to integrate it
but
into
now,
consolidated
because we have
body.
few minutes, tell us about the
President.
importance of the American ambassador.
Yeah,
Now the
I
American, tell us
think.
What is the effect
This is
and what
one
is your impression?
And let me just to send also message to the ambassador, because he sent message to us
Okay.
through our native language, Arabic.
Okay.
We again, I sent another language to the ambassador through English,
Okay.
his native language. Welcome, Ambassador John Goody to the Sudan, and we are happy to see you here in Sudan. And we have to solve Sudan in two very important issues. One issue is the economic issue. Most of the Sudanese people, Ambassador, they believe that the U.S. sanctions play a very important role on the current poverty in Sudan. So you, Ambassador, you are required to solve the welfare of the Sudanese people through hosting investment from outside, through encouraging the U.S. Investors to the Sudan, through importing technology. Sudanese people suffer from poor internet. Sudanese people suffer from the lack of technology. You are expected to solve the Sudanese people in this area. And the second thing, as you know, in the U.S., you have presidential system. Ambassador, you are required to solve Sudanese people to move from parliament system to the presidential system like U.S. And you are required to go to the directly Sudanese people, not to deal with the brokers. You have to go to the society to study the needs of the Sudanese people, and Sudanese people are very optimistic. When they see you to talk in Arabic, most of the Sudanese people, they positively recommend your role in Sudan. And especially you mentioned the principle of December Revolution, the peace, the equality, and the social justice, beside the many civil democratic transformation in Sudan. Sudanese people appreciate your word in Arabic, and they are looking forward very optimistically to contribute to the development of Sudan.
Thank you very much. This is very good words, and this is a good reception by the dialogue corridor. We are welcoming the ambassador, the American ambassador. We hope that he will do what is expected to be done. Thank you, dear viewers, for being with us in the last hour and so. We hope to see you next week in another episode edition.